Well, what a day of training today. So we get to the farm. Of course, it's been a horrible week here. 2 days we couldn't get out of the barn. The water froze the one day. Both for us and for maintenance. It was a really taxing and trying week. And got to the barn today. Track was plowed off pretty good, but it's supposed to melt here. So they can't take all the snow off the track. They'd be taking a lot of rock dust off. Then when it melts, a ton more will come off. So we took as much as we could off and then just screened it all day. So what happens on a day like today is it's not the best surface because those horses can't punch through a lot of them, and it's very taxing. It would be like you trying to run on a skating rink. You could probably do it, but after a while, well, maybe not, you'd fall down, but in sand, much like running on the beach, right? Take off on the run. It's not that long before it starts to get really taxing and trying. And that's what we had today, was a track that they could train on, but it was taxing. And the one thing it gives you is an opportunity to take a real look deep inside these horses. Without training them hard, you can see which ones really want it bad, which ones aren't really sure, maybe even which ones don't. And there wasn't too many at all that would say, I would say, rang the bell or gave up today. There was a couple. I mean, it's not an exact science, but at the same time, when you get them good and tired on a day like today, you get to see which ones want to dig down deep for it and which ones are just kind of present. And this is the type of day that also shakes them up a little bit. You'll see them come out and train real good next week. You might see some come out and train bad next week. These are the ones I'm waiting for. Which ones are training bad after a tough day like today? Which weren't many. Which many at all. A lot of them trained very, very good today. Some of them, just looking for what I was going to say. Some of them were exceptionally well. This was the first day in a while that James has gone with knockdown dragout. Exceptionally gifted horse, is what he said. A real freak. And both her and Johan trained good today. She didn't get to Johan, but James said he was way, way back of me when we came out of the turn, and she was flying. For her to get through that track with such power and strength and composure. That's the other thing. When they go into the turns, the track's not there for them. They might touch themselves, get out of gear. She was a bull. So for Gaetan out there, you took me to the woodshed on Knockdown Dragout. You got all the rest of my shares, and I said to James after, I said, I think I undersold this filly, and he said, yes, you did. So, obviously it's impossible to tell this time of year, but you guys know. I keep saying it's impossible to tell. We have a pretty good indicator, at least with the trotters. You go back and look at January's commentary on White Tiger, Oso Pine, Lawmaker, Cruising in Style the year before, Rose Run Speedster the year before that. We have a pretty good handle on at least who has talent this time of year. What do they do with it? I said to somebody a little while ago, you had a horse like West 52nd, we almost didn't take him to that consolation race. Had we not, he would have graduated the rest of the year with about 20 grand made. And really, not much difference between him and White Tiger, except White Tiger wanted it more, and he was in the right place at the right time, a lot of races. Yes, very similar. So it's easy to talk about who's better and who's not, but it really comes down to a lot of factors, timing being the biggest one. And last year, White Tiger just seemed to know when he had to dial it up a little bit. That last Pennsylvania Sire Stakes race and the final he was great, beat ahead. Lawmaker was beat ahead the year before. But to get into the final, White Tiger really had to win that last division of the Pennsylvania Sires, or at least be second, and he came out and he won the race. And that's the difference, right? The guy who hits that three-pointer at the buzzer or catches that touchdown in the dying seconds of the game, those are your all-stars. Those are your true, your true all-stars. And given the opportunity, West 52nd obliterated a lesser field at the end of the year, and Oso Pine went out on a great note, just getting beaten in Delaware. Yes, although got a bit of a tough drive in the final, had a tremendous year, and I could go on and on and on. You guys see where I'm going with this. Now, the horses, the frames of these horses are beginning to be built, the canvases, and what the picture ends up being at the end of the year is starting to be built right now, and you can see it. There are some surprises. As I said to one of our clients, See You in Tuscany was a surprise. Twinsburg was a surprise. Bay Jewel was a surprise in the fact that she was terrible last year, and I really thought she was going to be a tremendous filly and really let me down. Trained well today, but had a terrible year last year. Not the horse I thought she was going to be. Autumn Wings, not the horse I thought she was going to be. You can, and again, some of them trick you. Some of them look really, really good, but that substance is what you need, and you see it in days like today, at least glimmers of it. So it was a big day of training. Not the greatest track, but a real, real good opportunity to look inside some of the horses. Now, a horse like Fusspot didn't actually train that good today. First time in a couple of months she hasn't been good. But they said she coughed a little bit after. Ate all her supper, all her lunch, and looked very content. So her spirit wasn't broken, but was not effective this morning. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little concerned, but she's been absolutely tremendous for 2 months, so not a big deal. I opted to switch out. I was going to go with Fusspot. James was going to go with Watch Avenue, but after watching the horses struggle a little bit over this track, I wanted to go with Watch Avenue, and James wanted to go with Fusspot. I had an interesting email when I asked everybody to send in the emails for our webcast. We'll talk about that in a minute. For our webcast on Monday, somebody said, "Hey, Anthony, just trying to get a handle on your pricing. I know Watch Avenue was purchased for $7,000 in Harrisburg, yet his purchase price here in your site is $208 a share, which is $20,800. I said, thank you for the email. It was, first off, the horse wasn't sold. He was bought back by the breeder for $7,000. He wanted 12. Well, he sent the horse here. We agreed upon 10. He actually thought the horse would bring 25 or 30, and he was frustrated. I don't want to say heartbroken and in tears. He was frustrated. He had a good year. He told me, Malin Miller, nice gentleman, said he had a good year selling horses, but was baffled by the way this colt didn't sell well. And I agree. I saw a lot of he's watching sell for good money in London and in Harrisburg, and I think there was a couple in Lexington, if I'm not mistaken. But definitely some in London that sold very, very strongly. This is a gorgeous colt. Big, long colt, probably not built the best for Baycaren or for Tamiko Training Center. So I've been going with him and working with him, made a few little shoeing adjustments, made a few little equipment adjustments. And I thought it was probably best I went with him today, so I sent James with Fusspot. He came in and he said, didn't wow me. He said she was kind of just present. I said, well, that's the first bad thing anybody said about Fusspot in 2 months, so we'll give her a pass today. And they said they heard her coughing a little bit. Not a big deal. Sorry, back to my story. Watch Avenue. I said, well, sir, the price on the horse that was settled by the breeder was $10,000 American, which is just a tick over 13 and a bit Canadian. Then you have to deal with shipping and taxes. That gets you up around 15, just south of $16,000. We've had the horse 3 months. For me to recoup my training costs, I said, that's $22,000. I said, so I appreciate you bringing it to my attention. I've undervalued Watch Ave. He's below cost right now at $20,800. So I'll tell you what I'll do. If you're interested in the horse, I hope I've explained it well enough for you. Obviously, I don't know the gentleman, so I don't know. I said, I hope I've explained this well enough for you in the process into which we price our horses. There was a mistake made, but it would be I erred below the side of caution with this horse, and as of this week, we're going to be putting the price up on him. So I'll give everybody till Monday or Tuesday. Not a big deal. Colt went out and beat a very good set of horses. The shoeing and equipment changes we made were tremendous. We went 1.5 miles today, too. I wanted to make sure they got tired today. I wanted to see what they looked like tired without working them too fast. I still went 1 mile and 38. My last mile was 2:38. Probably went 1 mile and 26, 27, or a half and 26 or 27 before that. So we went a slower first half, and then we trained them 1 mile. So they all went 1.5 miles today. And Watch Avenue was tremendous. The horse beside him finishing up was very good, Wiggle Delight, so you can get a picture of the types of horses we were going with. We don't talk about Wiggle Delight too much, and it's for no particular reason other than, one, we haven't stressed her too hard, and two, she's owned by Paul Ganji, one gentleman, and I talk to Paul about this filly when I can one-on-one and send him the videos of the filly, but I haven't gone with her, so I can't personally talk her up, and I know that Mario's hidden her a couple of times, and he shook her loose today, and she was all business. So was Watch Ave. So one of the questions I was going to answer in the webcast on Monday was, how did we come up with the pricing on Watch Avenue? Obviously, I did a poor job of it. I've undersold the horse at $20,800. He's about $2,000 light of what cost would be. So he should be around, with staking, I'm going to say somewhere in the range of $230, $240 a share. Instead, he's at $208 right now. And I'll leave it that way till Monday or Tuesday. Not that I'm trying to talk you into selling, buying shares of them. Do as you wish. But I was very happy with the colt today. Now we have, we'll get into the training in a little bit. A very successful day from where I stand of the training the horses today. Very, very happy. Some of the horses we suspected were good solidified their place on the top of the heap. And without ruining it too much, Knockdown Dragout is possibly one of the best horses I've ever trained in my life at this point in time in her career. I don't see any gaping holes in her game. I don't see any cracks in her armor. I don't see any issues where I could say this could be a problem, that could be a problem, this might pose a problem. And then when James went with her for the first time today, he said this is an incredible animal. Good for the people that own her. Congratulations. Unfortunately, I'm not one of you anymore. Mr. Bono in Montreal relieved me of all my shares. Got ahead of me there. But he did. Johan was awesome today. He did beat Knockdown Dragout. I couldn't see what was going on behind me. I just sat on the outside of everybody with Johan. So we all know Johan's fast and Knockdown Dragout's fast. We all know these horses are fast. But I want to teach them things. I want to put them in positions where they should be uncomfortable. Johan's the type of horse, when you move him, he wants to sprint. So I moved him to the outside before the quarter pole in a 1.5 mile training trip, and I just let him inch up, inch up, inch up. It only took a matter of meters before he understood that we weren't sprinting. We weren't attacking right now. We were coasting. And he moved up slower, slower, slower. We come out of the fourth turn into the backstretch, and I just gave him his head. And you can see his ears just prick, and I just went, and immediately he went from whatever gear he was in to absolutely dropped his arse to the track and was gone. I went from third on the outside, clearing to the front in a matter of seconds, and Knockdown Dragout was coming with me, and I let him trot through the turn into the stretch, down the stretch, and just a powerhouse. So, and it was pretty cool because Harness Racing Update was doing the ads for Sebastian K, and Hanover, obviously being Hanover, they understand about social media, and they followed Johan and Knockdown Dragout, and it's my understanding that those two horses are going to be used as training with a quote from me about how the Sebastian Ks look, which is pretty cool. Those two horses in their own right are as good as any horse. And put it this way, as good as any horse I've ever trained at this point in their career, and I certainly have no problem in saying that because it's the truth. A long way to go yet, but apples for apples, months for months, Johan and Knockdown Dragout and a couple other horses in that barn are as good as any horses I've seen come through our stable. And again, we're not Jimmy Takter, Ron Burke, Ron Gerfine, a million other trainers in the world that have won substantial events, never won a Breeders' Crown, a Hambletonian, any major stake races. So take it for what it's worth for the people out there that aren't our clients. It's not like I'm saying, well, this is the nicest horse I've ever had. You know, we haven't won anything. But we've had some nice horses, horses that I would consider good horses, horses that are raced against the top of their ranks, and horses that I'm proud of. So those two and a few more we're going to talk about looked about as good as they could. Somebody said to me the other day, "Oh, I see you got new glasses." I had I never buy expensive glasses ever, just because I'm forgetful. I leave them at my butt. I leave them in restaurants. Nice. I leave them in restaurants. And I just lose them, or I sit on them and break them. I'm not a responsible sunglass owner, so I never buy expensive sunglasses ever. But these were, my mother had been given a pair of sunglasses for Christmas, and she asked me to take them back. They didn't. She has a prescription, so it was just going to be a nightmare. Anyway. The guy talked me into buying these Ray-Bans, and I said to myself after, now I fancy myself a pretty good salesman. I said, I'm pretty sure you could sell a fire extinguisher to a pyromaniac. I said, you're good. And I bought the glasses. They were very, very good, though. I liked them. And somebody made fun of them the other day. Don't make fun of my glasses. That's not cool. Don't do that. So I'll need them for going to Australia on the 20th. I'll need those sunglasses with me. It's 41 degrees yesterday, I think they told me, in Australia. So I actually hope it cools off a little bit. Everybody's like, oh, it's going to be so nice to go in the heat. Yeah. You ever been in 40-degree weather? It's nice for about 5 seconds. You almost have a stroke. So it's nice, and it'll be nice to go over there. They're excited. They put out an advertisement, their first advertisement about me coming over. We haven't even put a press release out yet, and they already had one out in Australia, which is cool. I'm really excited about going. I'm a little bummed out that my wife and my daughter can't go. Adeline's home. She got home last night. 32 days in the hospital. 32 days, and she made it home yesterday. Just a little sweetheart, and unfortunately, the doctor wasn't comfortable, and I'm certain Amy maybe wasn't. It wasn't even getting to Australia. It was the flying from here to there to there to there to there that was going to be taxing, and you know, with babies with their ears popping and stuff. It just wasn't worth it. So, you know, I told Amy maybe we'd go somewhere in April when I get back. I can't go anywhere from May to December. You guys know. You know, May, we have our open house, and at the end of April, we're prepping these horses for our open house. Then we have the open house. Then we're prepping them for qualifying day. Then we're prepping them for stake races. Then we are racing in stake races. And then we have the sale coming up in September, October, November. So there's no time for anything. Right now, the last little bit would be March to April, somewhere in the end of March maybe. I'd love to take her somewhere because she's had a long year too, and then obviously that pregnancy was not nice to her. Her blood pressure was all over the place, and the baby was born premature. And anyway, it would be nice to get away with her, you know. And she said, "Well, it's nice to you. This will be your third vacation." I said, "Honey, when I went to New Zealand, 2 days we were in Queenstown. We were virtually not snow, but we couldn't leave Queenstown for an extra day. So that was really our only downtime. Every day it was preparing for a speech, talking to people, meeting people at farms, going to racetracks and speaking again, flying here, flying there, much like the same in Australia. I have 12 days in Australia. I have 6 or 7 speaking engagements spread all over the country. So there's not a lot of time to go out and drink and party, and but it is nice to get away. So there's that. What else do we have? Training went good. Now, the webcast. All you guys, the webcast is very important on Monday. If you haven't gone on, go on, click that link. I'm going to have, Kelly and Curtis are going to put it on the emails that we put out from here to Monday. So really this one. Explaining how important this is, because we have a lot of questions that have been sent to me and Kelly already. A lot of questions about staking, and I want to have people voice their opinion. I had somebody call me last night and say, hey, I just looked at the staking for Sunshine's Finest, and you didn't stake him very aggressive. All cards on the table. I don't own any of Sunshine's Finest. I'm trying to do my best and say, do I think he's going to race in the North American Cup, Meadowlands Pace, or Little Brown Jug? No, I never did. I mean, Stag Party's a nice horse, but he wanted no part of Captain Crunch at the end of the year, and there's other horses that are going to be coming up. Am I selling Sunshine's Finest short? You tell me. Am I? I'm staked to the Simcoe, the Simpson, and there's one other one. Now the Breeders' Crown is in Ontario. If you want to make the first payment and see how he is, fine. But I can't tell you how Sunshine's Finest is going to be as a 3-year-old until I see him race also. We know he's fast. I expect he'll be at least as fast as he was last year. But he's going to have to be faster. 53 isn't going to make you any money as a 3-year-old. He has to pace 49 or 50, or maybe even 48 in a piece if we're talking top flight 3-year-old events. Grand Circuit events. Is our Sunshine Beach, that's a nice 2-year-old, going to come back as a 3-year-old and beat up on a bunch of Captain Treacherouses and stuff? I'm not trying to be negative. But at the same time, I don't own him. And if you guys would like to make the first payment of the Breeders' Crown to see how he trains down over the next month, maybe Anthony has a better idea, can give us more info, I'll try. But, and again, this is not a slight on Sunshine's Finest. This is one of the best horses we've ever had, one of the best pacers I've ever had. I think if any time you have a 2-year-old that can pace the last quarter in 25 and 4, yeah, you got a nice horse. So where do we stake Sunshine's Finest? Another gentleman, Stonebridge Simba. Why aren't we staking him heavier? Well, I don't think he's in the talks for the Hambletonian or the Breeders' Crown. I staked him to the Simpson, the Liberty Bell, the Keystone Classic, all the Pennsylvania sires he's entered in. I thought that was a more conservative route. Again, I don't own any of Stonebridge Simba. Would you be more comfortable with me entering him somewhere else? Somebody else said, oh, it's too expensive paying the Hambletonian. Probably the cheapest stake race to pay into outside of regional staking this year. All the money for the Hambletonian's paid as a 2-year-old. $2,000. One payment in February of the 3-year-old year, and then you're paid up till race day. Not another payment until race day 2019. So if you want to pay, somebody said, I don't think Osopine's good enough. Why? Why is he not good enough? I think he's good enough. I mean, and that's a stupid statement. Do I think he's good enough? I don't know if he's good enough. But I look at all the horses we have. West 52nd's a nice horse. But, again, jurisdictionally speaking, it's difficult to leave Ohio to go to New Jersey. Very difficult. He would have to be pretty special for us to uproot him, yes, or West 52nd, send them to New Jersey to race against the best horses in North America. That's tough. West 52nd, yeah, he beat up on consolation horses the end of the year, but when he could get beat last year, he did. Now, has he matured? I thought he looked unbelievable training the other day for Todd. For Todd! Looked unbelievable. Got you again, Todd. Yes, looked tremendous. Yes, is a warrior. Osopine, I thought, was our best horse in Ohio. Every time he got beat, he had a reason to get beat. And I think he's going to come back a tremendous 3-year-old. But we'll see. Again, it's a $2,000 payment one time. I don't own any of Osopine. I own a small share of Yes and West 52nd. And if you would like to make that payment, I am 100% on board. Just tell me. You know, we're all adults here. Well, I'm trying to, you know, I have some clients that say, don't stake them to anything. And other clients that want them staked to everything. There has to be a reality, a realistic middle of the road. That's what we're looking for. So this webinar, is very important for all of us because it gives me a chance to talk to you, and it gives you a chance to talk to me and all your partners and say, hey, why don't we do this, or why don't we look into this? Absolutely. Absolutely. And if I don't agree, I'll tell you. I don't think that Stonebridge Simba needs to be staked to the Hambletonian and the Breeders' Crown. I think he's going to do good this year for us, regionally speaking. Those off-the-beaten-path stakes, the Simpson, the Keystone Classic, the Liberty Bell, right up his alley. I like that. You know, Sunshine's Finest. I wish there was a little bit more for him. There isn't. So we can talk about that. That's why the webcast is going to be on Monday. We might have another one in a couple of weeks' time. I like to have them with you because to preach to you in this video is great. For you to send me an email is wonderful. To talk one-on-one in real time with other people in the conversation, now that's something different. And that's a whole new level, not a whole new level, but a much better level of conversation and communication I want to have with you. So the webcast, very important on Monday. RSVP if you want. Send any questions. You can send them to me if you want, but send them. It would be better if you send them to Kelly at TheStable.ca. Instead of Anthony at The Stable, Kelly at The Stable. That's Kelly Spencer's email. She's organizing all this on a spreadsheet, so we have all the questions right there. I can answer them as we go along for our clients that need them answered, like the gentleman that was asking about Watch Avenue. So that's the webcast. Very, very important tool for us to use this time of year. Also, when I talk to you, and I saw a lot of people have been sending their money via PayPal that usually send checks. I really appreciate that. And there's a bunch of email transfers that come in. Our staking, I was a little bit off. I said it'd be around 50,000. Just under 31,000 American, just around 48,000 Canadian. And those are two different numbers. I have $30,000 worth of American stake payments to make this month and 48,000 Canadian to make this month. So I was wrong. I told you it was around 50. It's around 90. A little over 90, north of 90, if you put it into Canadian funds. It's 30 American and 48 Canadian. And it's going to be much higher than that this year. This next month, when we start paying some more 3-year-old events and the Ohio events, I see where there's a lot of zeros for this month. They're not any zeros next month. So this month might be 90. Next month will be twice that maybe. So a lot going on in that regard. If you can get those checks out to me quickly, I do need that money to pay for our staking. There's just not a lot of. There's not a slush fund where I can dip into it to make sure we shore up that. So if you can't send the check, no problem. It's not the end of the world. I understand this time of year we all work hard and we're all trying to get our bills paid, and sometimes you can't pay things till the end of the month. But I would appreciate you dropping me a line and saying, "Hey, Anthony, can't get that out to you the 18th or 20th or maybe the end of the month." Okay, I'll make arrangements to shore that total up. But I need to know what's coming in. I need to know what's not coming in right away, because on the 15th there is a check going out, 2 checks, one for 30 American, one for 48 Canadian, and it's very important that we make them. So that's the webcast. That's the cry, the decree for money coming in. We're going to talk about racing in a bit. Some good points, some bad points. We're finding out where horses fit. We got a lot of horses that are going up for sale. We're going to add some more horses to the supplement. Right now we have Ready for the Beach, Candy Mac, Majesty Boy, and Quartz Blue Chip heading to Ohio for the 12th. Majesty Boy has won a race already, so good for him. I hope he keeps it up. A few more horses might be heading also. Fan the Flames, he lost his little friend the other night. He finally won a race. He's the only maiden with 38,000 made or something lifetime, so the non-winners of 2 he can compete in, I hope. I am going to add him to the supplement to the Ohio sale, simply because if he can't do in the non-winners of 2, that's a problem. I think he'll be able to. James is comfortable with saying he can, but we need to have a plan B, an exit strategy here. So for the $160 or whatever it is American to enter him in the sale, I think it's a smart move to make. We're going to have 1, maybe 2 starts in him, 1 for sure in the non-winners of 2 to get a gauge of, is this what we want? Should we look somewhere else? Because he can't race on a half. Not for us. He might be able to race on 5/8. He's done that, but there's no 5/8 open until, May? A little bit of a problem. So I suppose he could do a claimer. I guess that's possible too. Anyway, that we can talk about that on the webcast also. Linnea, I don't want to talk about Linnea that much. This is a very frustrating filly. She, as I said last week, the biggest waster of talent I've seen in quite some time, and it was on display again last night. Her days are numbered, I believe, and I know that's very frustrating and maybe heartbreaking for some of our clients that had high hopes for her. I had high hopes for her too. I know a lot of people spent a lot of money on shares of Linnea, and as I said, probably one of the most disappointing cases in quite some time. I put Curious Winner in case he doesn't do good his next 2 starts. First start tonight, and then next week we'll race him again. I was happy last week. I need to see more, but a bit of a jump forward for that horse. So good for him. I hope he keeps it up. Who else do we got? There's a couple more. Not really sure who. A couple more. So that's them. What else we got? Lincoln James raced fantastic last week. Now, I had talked about last week. He had that little bit of softness on his right front down low, and we were going to cryo it. And somebody said, well, he raced great. Are we going to do it? For the sake of the horse, yes, we are. No, I'm not concerned. You saw him. He raced great. He wasn't lame. He was sound. He looked awesome. But I don't want that to change. So we did put 2 or 3 dots on that right hind low where the sesamoid is. That's just old arthritis stuff. Not a big deal. Not something you wouldn't expect on a war horse like him to begin with. But, you know, if your right front tire is a little low, stop and get some air in it, if nothing else. And that's what we did with Lincoln James. So he's going to miss a couple of weeks. Not a big deal. This guy looks like he's going to do good for us all year long on various sizes of tracks and facilities. So that's good. Holden Steady raced good last night. Just got beat at the wire. We had some horses that have been racing good. Stonebridge Loyal needed a trip last night. That wasn't the trip she needed. I got away close, but the front end collapsed, and I got pinned in, and she still raced good. But I think we're going to retreat to the B tracks for a couple of weeks with her. I think she can race at Mohawk, but I'm not going to chase money right now. I want to make some money with her. So she's going to find her way back to the Bs, I think. A lot of horses getting ready. We're going to talk about the racehorse in a minute. Talked about what we need to talk about. Happy with the training today. The webcast coming up is very important for everybody. And we'll be back in just a minute. I'm going to tell you about everybody today. Everybody, how they went, how they looked, what I thought of them, where I see them going from here on in. Going to talk about the racehorses, how the burns are doing. Kevin's burn, Harry's burn, Jason's burn. A lot still going on. We'll be back in just a minute.